I would like to take the time today to reply to some of the misconceptions that Pastor Steven Anderson has about Sikhism. I would like to start with a quote from Guru Granth Sahib which states, Tarik na chah, parmiya chah. What that means, do not kill your doubts, but doubt until you've killed doubt itself. That is the path to finding the truth. One should question everything. God gave us a mind. God gave us thought. God gave us the ability to think. And for that reason, we should always search for the truth. We should always test everything out because in the end, the truth will always stand free. It'll always remain. We should not be afraid to question things, and we should not be afraid of knowledge. We should not be afraid to learn. It is a very famous quote that one can understand if a child is afraid of darkness. But what is unforgivable is if an adult is afraid of the light, if an adult is afraid of knowledge. The first point I want to make here is that Pastor Anderson speaks of the true religion. And I have a couple of questions to ask here. Whether we bury a dead body, or whether we cremate it, or whether we throw it into the water, that dead body disintegrates in front of our eyes. That body does not go with us into the next phase, into whatever happens after death. That body does not go with us. We see that body, we can dig that body up, and chances are, if we have buried that body or thrown it somewhere, that body has turned into dust. Or that body has changed form, it has disintegrated. So if the body stays here, how does one know who is a Christian, who is a Muslim, who is a Sikh? These labels were not made by God. These labels were not made by God. These labels were made by humans. When God created mankind, God did not say, you are Christians, you are Jews, you are Sikhs, you are Hindus. God created us. Sikhism and Christianity share this teaching. God created man in his image. God created us like God. And it is not a body or a religious label that will go with us to the next world, but it is our pure soul, our love, our inner spark. How clean is our soul? A clean soul will be attracted to God, not only in the afterlife, but even in this world. A soul that loves, a soul that is kind, and a soul that is filled with sin will drift far apart from God. So here I want to mention an incident from the life of Guru Nanak Dev Ji. Guru Nanak Dev Ji was asked which religion is true and which religion is false. Guru Nanak Dev Ji was asked by a Hindu priest and a Muslim Qazi, what is the true faith? And Guru Nanak Dev Ji said that good deeds and love for God is the highest religion, and without these everyone cries. And then afterwards Guru Nanak Dev Ji explained that religion is like the color of the safflower. It's temporary, it washes off. In the end, no one's gonna know what religion we were. It fades. What religious label does the soul have? So here you talk about false religions and true religions. Instead of going around and reading things and interpreting things, and a point I want to make here, in the beginning of your video, you say the word can be translated anyway, and then you talk about perversions of the Bible being made. That's kind of a contradiction in itself. But when you talk here about different faiths and different faiths being true and false, and you make these claims, I just want to urge you, before you understand the Bible, before you understand the Quran or any religious scripture, the most important thing is to understand your heart, because the heart is where God lives. You must understand the nature of God. Every human being must connect. God gave us a heart and a conscience. And here, the biggest truth that we find when we look at the world is that It doesn't matter. No religion is false. No religion is true. It is people whose actions can be true or false, but not a faith. So the first argument I want to make here, and the first point I want to make, is you talk about true and false religions. Calling oneself a Christian does not make you go far away from God or come close to God. Saying something and then acting in another way, that doesn't keep you close or far from God either. It is the actions we commit. If we are full of anger and hatred, no matter how hard we try, how can the seed of God sprout within us? These are our actions. These are what pull us towards or away from God. It's not by calling yourself a certain religion or a certain name. And if you think about it, it makes logical sense. There's a difference between reading about God, studying about God, hearing about God, and another difference between doing that and a difference between knowing God and loving God. You can have a student who studies oceanography his whole life and then throw him in the ocean and he won't know how to swim in it, or he won't have that experience with it. He won't know what the ocean feels like. He'll know what species of algae grow where, what plant grows where, but he won't know about how the ocean is. The same way, you can read about God from different places, but until you've experienced God, until you've opened your heart to God's love and cleansed it of hatred, you're going to go around like a parrot, reading different scriptures and saying this and that. And what I want to say, slandering God and slandering the beautiful love and teachings of Jesus Christ by coloring them up and filling them with hatred. So this is the first point I want to make and the first reply to your first argument about there being false religions and true religions and Sikhism being a false religion.